Apostle Herman Murray down there in Dallas, Texas. He be preaching hard in the pulpit. He be preaching hard. He sound like a Baptist preacher, but I think he's full gospel. He be preaching hard, claim he be preaching the unadulterated gospel. That's what he say. People don't like you preaching the gospel, the hard gospel. If you preaching the true gospel, how is it that you associate with adulterous pastors? How is it that you associate with unbiblical women pastors? You don't preach against that. You go along with that. All right? Ain't that hypocritical of a preacher that claim he preached the true gospel? What's in the scriptures? That's what he just said. I just seen a video clip. I've been looking at him for a while. He preach hard. He claim he stick to the scriptures. But how is it that you don't preach against adultery? How is it you don't tell the truth about women pastors? You associate yourself with that stuff. What the scriptures say about adultery? What the scriptures say about women preachers, women pastors? Okay, you want to go along with a women evangelist in your church? Because I think your wife is a evangelist. That's not scripture, but if you want to go along with that, okay. But how you go along with women pastors? Ain't that woman Angela Ray? I think she's out of Florida. Ain't she's a woman pastor? You associate with that. Bishop Marvin Winans is on his second or third wife, second wife. Or third. Somebody told me he been married twice before. But either way it go, that's adultery. And he been pastoring a church. You don't preach against that? A lot of these pastors have select truths they'll preach against. They did claim they preaching the true gospel of Christ, the scripture. I can't see that. You ain't preaching the whole truth. You preaching select truth. People that follow these type of preachers, they too blind to see that. Cause you preaching hard in the pulpit, and you like one of them hardcore preachers, but you want certain stuff you won't preach against. Adultery, unbiblical women pastors. Got two issues right there, and I'm sure there's some more. Don't dislike him. I like a hard preaching preacher that preach the truth, but you can't preach select truth. Then think you preaching. Then try to pretend like you preaching the whole truth of the scripture. That's not it. You not. You really can't go along with women evangelists in the church If you gonna if you claim to preach the scriptures, your wife can't be a evangelist in the church. You can't override the scriptures and make your wife a evangelist when the Bible tell us she to be quiet in the church. So you want to be a hardcore Baptist preacher mixed with, I guess, a little Kojic, and that's what full gospel came from. But it's not the full gospel. If you going along with stuff that's against the scriptures and you won't preach against, how is you preaching the full gospel? It don't make no sense. People get caught up in the enthusiasm and the performance of a preacher. And they get conditioned to the atmosphere and they miss the stuff that the preacher not doing. You can quit claiming you preach the gospel, the scriptures, when you go along with stuff that's against the scripture. That's being a hypocrite. That's being a hypocrite. You got to preach against these adulterous pastors. You came out and rebuked William Murphy and other preachers, but you want to rebuke adultery, and that's bad in the church. You want to rebuke the other crooked pastors that you know about. Down around Texas and Dallas. What's his name? Keon Henderson down there near Houston. You want to preach against him? What he did, that man left his wife for another man's wife. He didn't leave his wife for a single woman. He left his wife for another man's wife. You know that's messed up. You know that's double messed up. That's adultery 2 times. Then if his wife that he left go and marries another man, he calls her in him. He calls him the sin. He put a sin on her husband if she get married again. These preachers in this country, they're a bunch of hypocrites. They'll preach hard in the pulpit, preach like they preach, but certain stuff they won't preach against. Certain stuff they don't talk about. They friends with pastors that are outright disobeying the Bible. Preaching from the King James Version Bible. Preaching from, it's right there. Let your women keep silence in the church. No other preachers have no problem saying this about women preachers. A lot of other preachers don't have no problem preaching against women pastors. But to be the type of preacher you claim to be, clearly a mixture of Baptist and I guess Kojic. I don't see Methodists. I don't know what full gospel came from. But I can tell it's some Baptists in there. Maybe Kojic or apostolic or something. I don't know. I guess Baptist and apostolic mix. Apostolic preachers, they preach hard, but they go along with a lot of stuff that's contrary to the Bible. So I guess that's what full gospel came from. Baptist and apostolic. But come on, we can't be hypocritical preachers and outright go, and go outright go along with stuff that clearly against the Bible, but yet we claiming we preaching in scriptures. Something wrong with that picture. Something wrong with that picture. You got sinning pastors all around you. You know about it. Look at how these preachers have been falling since Robert Morris. Look how these preachers been falling. Cause I've been following the guy out of Florida, Dawson. He been doing stories for the longest. Mega preachers, a lot of preachers falling and getting in trouble. This stuff is just really coming to a head now. But you stand in the pulpit claiming you 100% for the scriptures when you are socializing with preachers that you know are living wrong in pastoring churches. How can that be? You can't have select. You can't be selective like that. What you gonna preach against and preach about and avoid some stuff? If you claim you preaching the unadulterated gospel, you got to preach against your friends. You got to preach against the people you associate with in the ministry.